Hi everyone, welcome to our webinar. Hopefully everyone who wanted to join is already joined, and we are waiting for the others, but let me start with a brief introduction on what's going on to be today, while we are waiting for the rest of participants who want to join our webinar. So today's section is dedicated towards creatives and exploring successful creative experiments on platforms like TikTok and Meta. I'm Natalia, I'm Business Partnership Manager at Allformance, and I will be moderating our webinar today. So today we'll cover following topics. First of all, Ignat Bodrikov, creative strategist at Allformance, we'll discuss how to run successful creative experiments on TikTok and adapt content for this platform. Then Artem, the head of user acquisition at Endel, will share insights into new approaches on Meta. And Paulina, marketing manager at Apptica, will present the latest trends in mobile advertising creatives in 2024. So a bit of organizational moments. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask them. There are two special sections there, questions or chat, if it's more convenient to you. So, and we'll answer them accordingly. So let's start. Starting with the Allformance part. And at first, I'd like to share a brief introduction of who we are, and my colleague, Ignat Bodrikov, will provide detailed insights on creative strategies, TikTok experiments, and some successful case studies with our clients. So a bit about Allformance. We are TikTok marketing partner and Google marketing platform sales partner. We work with more than 100 worldwide clients, and our team, with extensive experience from companies like TikTok, Google, and others, is committed to deliver really outstanding results. In terms of TikTok, we offer full support without any fees, starting with an audit of your current campaigns if you do so on TikTok, and suggesting strategies to meet client KPIs. Our day-to-day communication and creative support are amongst our strongest advantages. And our team, including former TikTok employees, helps to build effective performance and creative strategies on TikTok, including finding production teams and assist with the moderation process, which is really crucial on TikTok. You know that. And now I give the word to my colleague, Ignat. So please, Ignat, go ahead.
Yeah, so hi everyone, glad to see and hear you here on our webinar, and also you guys who come up to listen us today. So yeah, let's start and go further with some creative experiments and setting new benchmarks for you and for your business today. I will show you a couple of examples how we managed to use any case to prepare a good point and straightforward creatives and setting up the new benchmarks for the market, for the TikTok especially, and help the client grow. And of course, I will give you two examples of how to, develop a universal approach for scaling through creatives and adapting creatives concepts for TikTok, because it's really necessary while you working to the TikTok from another platform maybe, or with a brand new title. You need to know how to make the creatives for TikTok work best. Okay, let's move on. And of course, remember, if you have any questions, you can write it in the chat or in the question button. So, okay, let's start with the first, how to develop a universal approach for scaling through creatives and make it work. So we have 3 steps. It's not so easy, but it's really important and how it works. So The first step is look at product advertising from a deep dive angle. So what it means, for example, you need to choose USP to which the audience respond best. For example, you don't need to choose the USPs that use your competitors on TikTok. You just need to take them maybe, and rewrite it, remake it, but for your product. You need to know that these USPs work the best for your product, and then adapt it to your concept. Second, show your product in detail if you use UGC, and use emotional triggers if you have motion creative, because combination is power. So pay attention on this, because I will show you on one of the cases that the combination of UGC approach and some motion design, or even using screencast of the application, works the best in collaboration, because we need to choose the two steps, like your product and emotion, by using this product. It's really important. So another second step is test, analyze, combine, and repeat. What it means. Don't hang up on a couple of winning approaches, because you need take a wide sample and test, make it complex. So for example, you want to use like the UGC approach, talking head, and you use only this approach and scale your creatives only with this kind of simple UGC stuff. Throw it away and make it more complex, make it more wider. Add some sketch formats like trends with the music, with some dance, or even like with street interviews, because it works best, and make your benchmark grows wider, and make your creative strategy works more wider than ever. And of course, find out which elements have the greatest impact on CTR and conversion changes. And that's why the learning should solve any top funnel problem. It is a step 3. So remix benchmarks as widely as possible, because we need to find out more without, any simple add-ons like the different color of the call to action button, or even like different text on the beginning of the creative. Choose the wider approaches you have and you want, because it really works. The second, take the step to improve creative more widely. It means you need to take the benchmark and add, as I mentioned previously, whatever you want, especially like the music, but think about the copyrights, because it's really important. You can be blocked about like using track of the Beyonce, for example, but maybe another track without any rights should work better. And of course, use TikTok tools and third-party agencies to expand your creative horizons, because it really helps to provide more interesting expertise, like out of the box. And you need it, because, okay, your creative team is good to go. They're really experienced ones. But if you have a burnout creatives, you haven't got any benchmark in the months, take another way. Take TikTok tools, use it. Take friendship with some third-party agency, and also test it. Also use it, because it's really important and it works. So another way is adapting creative concepts for TikTok. So we have two, for example, different strategies. For example, one of them, any platform benchmark you have and you want to launch it on TikTok. What you're going to do? Find the top creative approaches from the market and apply them to your video. It's really important, because we need to test what works more. But remember that you also need to test the control creative, your benchmark from another platform, with these additions, to make sure that your benchmark with some additions of UGC stylish creative approach, or even motion design stuff, works the best or the better, or like the benchmark. And for example, we have the new concept. You don't get any benchmark, they are burnout on the Google and Meta. What are you going to do? Create new UGC creative based on competitor and market analysis. But remember, as I mentioned previously, don't use as these concepts that use competitor. Make it more wider, think out of the box, and prepare yours. Then time to produce. For any benchmark, like try to make 3 or even 5 experiments with similar topics, but different implementation. That means that we need to take a benchmark and upgrade it. not remix it, not reshoot it, but upgrade it. And I will show you on the next slides how it works. And for the new concept, you need to make at least 5 different variations to get the most relevant result. Why so? Because if we have benchmark, we have already think that, okay, we have the good point working video, we need just adapt it to the TikTok and make it work better, like add some UGC style or even some, I don't know, motion design features like motion effects or even emojis and so on and so on. But for the new production, we need to find out what the video should be our best benchmark on TikTok. That's why at least 5 videos should to be prepared for the new TikTok concept for the TikTok. Then test it, and it's quite simple. Test 7 or even 10 days with a stable fixed budget for each creative, because it's really important to not turn on the after bidding system and to test the whole creatives with the same budget on the same days to make a choice, the right choice, that what creative should be the new benchmark for you and maybe it fits. And when you get a TikTok benchmark, explore all the results obtained after the test, scale the winner to several markets at once, and develop a winning concept. And don't tell anyone, of course. But okay, I'm joking. So you need to show it for every market and grow up with it. So how we do it? Let's see this couple of examples. And first of all, I want to give a great thanks for the TikTok creative experiment team, because without them, we don't even take the part in these creative experiments, because this experiment that I show you today, there is our joint work with the TikTok, with the platform, with the team from the platform that take the lead with us and make the scale of the client of the creative experiments better. And that's why I really grateful to work with them, and many thank you guys. So let's move on with the cases. The first one you see this about the retail and e-commerce, and it's client lady shops. So the creative test was about which type of UGC creatives achieve better results. Though the problem with the client was that they have already benchmarked for the TikTok, but it consistently burn out right now, and they need to find another solution, how to remix it, how to improve it, to make the, I don't know, top funnel metrics better. Then we take a UGC approach, so-called. For example, we just take the motion design creative, but it's not like the motion design, maybe. It's like the simplest UGC ever. Like we have the hands, we have a phone in hands, and we like show the product and maybe add some hooks with some drawing on the paper and so on and so on. So then we take this benchmark and add UGC approaches like that you see in the screen, like the create a cutout, unboxing, personal recommendation, sketch, and digital avatar. And then we launch it like in 10 days for the purchases optimization and get the results. And as you see, the sketch best performing creative on this test. And after this test, the client take this creative, just remix it for the at least 5, I guess, languages and launch it and scale a lot, because they take a different approaches. And before this test, they only use the simpler UGC creatives without talking, without sketch, without some funny moments and at all. So just simple UGC. And get more complex approach makes them grow with this kind of stuff. And of course, great thanks to our creative production agency, friendly creative production agency, to make these creatives for maybe for 5 or even 7 days in a row. So we just prepare the creatives in the 5 days, launch it on 10 days, and voila, 15 days and a new benchmark and the higher results and the better results. And the next case is about the ride hailing, our client Yango. So the case was, will adding an app screencast to the UGC creative improve metrics? So we take the UGC creative in this case and upgrade it with editing some, I don't know, motion design effects like emojis and even editing some screencast, because the benchmark on the Peru market was like UGC, pure UGC, without any screencast, without any logos of the younger, etc. But then adding some screencast and some emojis, we just leveling up this creative. So we just upgrade it and make better results. For example, this is the control creative on the left. Then we have only the app website logo, not the UI. Then we add some app website UI mainly, or even like some emojis. Then we just show the hand showcase while we're taking the lead in the creative, so showing how we interact with the application. It is the best performing creative, and then without showing, so without showing the person. And the best part, the best one was the hand showcase. We're just leveling up the install rate, lowest CPA and lowest CPI, and the creative are really good looking, and of course are really good performing in this case. And you know what? In this case, we see that not only the pure UGC or even the pure motion design works good. We can make the better results, just combine it, as I mentioned previously, combining is the power. So, in short, if we can manage some complicity interrupt with your creatives, so choose 3 simple steps. Make the whole, as I mentioned previously, universal approach for each of your products, for each of your campaign. Then adapt creatives for TikTok. Then test it and make the better results. But if you want to test it with us or even with the TikTok Creative Experiment team, so please go to us, contact me or even Natalia, and we will show you and we will see how we can help with your approach. So this was my part. I guess, Artem, it's your turn now.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ignat. I guess it was very insightful. So please don't hesitate to ask your questions. We'll answer them at the end of our webinar. Questions or chat section are here. So don't forget to ask your questions. Otherwise, if you forget to ask them, for instance, or you don't have time, please contact us. We'll share all the contacts of all the speakers. And now I'm giving the word to Artem. So please, Artem, go ahead.
Hi to everyone. A few words about me. My name is Artem, and I'm a growth marketing expert with more than 6 years of experience. I have worked on both sides, in-house and agency, with different titles from gaming, e-com, fintech, health and fitness, and so on. I'm currently head of user acquisition at Endel, and I'm going to tell you about our experience at my company. A few words about my company. It's the Endel ecosystem that consists of B2B direction, B2C direction, and it's our awards like Apple Watch App of the Year, Google Play Best of 2019, and so on. And Endel is a sound wellness company and runs a cross-platform ecosystem of app-powered apps that create personalized, functional soundscapes to help people to focus, relax, and sleep. Yeah, and a few warm words from Elon Musk. Yeah. Okay. Move to our agenda. Today, I'm going to tell about our test approaches for web, iOS, and Android platforms. And first of all, I want to move to Meta ads and tell you about pluses of this platform and minus, of course. Why we choose Meta like the top one? It's because good quality of traffic, fast learning stage, a long time of career fatigue. And minuses, I don't know really, because it's a main source in my career, and I think it can be using for most of the titles in gaming, fintech, health and fitness, and other niches and categories. Yeah. A few words about meta action, because it's important when we are talking about career, because we can see their user value. It's a value for user. That means that this part of this formula, it depends on creative. Its main depends of creative. Yeah. Okay. Now tell about approaches. I wanna tell you about 3 approaches. It's A/B testing. It's standard tool in Meta. The second is dedicated Adsets. I don't use it. I don't use it at Endel, but I know that many people use it, and because of that, I want to tell you about it. And at ranking, Bayesian inference. It's Bayesian inference. It's a science and difficult naming, and often I hear about at ranking approach. Now it's a small spoiler. We're using at ranking, and now it's cool because you can use it for attribution type, Meta's attribution aggregated event measurement. Yeah, it's a good point to use this approach and get from it all this value. Yeah. A few words about A/B testing. Your managers of Meta will be happy because you're a good boy and follow Facebook requirements. The second, it helps to ensure that your audience will be evenly split and statistically comparable, while informal testing can lead to overlapping audiences. Minuses, it's long, and because of that, it's expensive. Long because you need to use to launch this approach for 2 weeks. If I'm right, maybe some maybe setup can be changed, but my past information, it's 2 weeks, because you need to collect 50 events, 50 optimization events to tell that you completely completed this test. Yeah, and some description, and you can see that these results of this test. You can compare campaign groups, campaigns, Adsets, and it seems like this that you can see on your screen. Yes. The second approach, it's a dedicated Adsets. In my humble opinion, it's most for iOS, because in Android you clearly see all the data, and you don't need to use it. But in iOS, you can use this approach to see results of each career. Minuses, sometimes it's expensive, but now because Meta increased the limits of campaigns, this approach is more convenient, because previously the limit of iOS 14 plus campaigns was 9. Now it's 18, and you can use 18 slots to test your creatives. But of course, minus of this approach that in Advantage Plus campaigns you can use only one ad group, but in manual campaigns you can use 5 ad groups for it. It's setup, one campaign, one ad set, and one ad. Okay. The second approach, the third approach is it's ad ranking and Bayesian inference. Pluses, you let Facebook algorithms do their best, but of course you need to control it. The second plus, it's cheap, but it's important. You need to control it. Minuses algorithm can choose wrong trio, and the second. You can see results per each creative. What does it mean? Sometimes your creative team ask you about some data, some metrics for each creative. But in this approach, the most of budget get winners. That means that you can upload I don't know, 10 creatives, and 7 of them, for example, can't get any budget, something like $1 or $0.50 and so on. Yeah, and for this for this target, you can't use this approach to test creatives. Description for AAA campaigns, Advantage Plus campaigns. You can use different numbers of Creo, of course, 10, 15, or 5, or 3, up to you. And description for manual campaigns, up to 5 adsets, and DCO, or you can use each ads for one creative. Now you can see you can use flexible, but I don't suggest you to use it for creative testing, because in flexible ad you can't use perform of each Creo. It's like a DCO, but in DCO you can break down by Creo. But in flexible, you can do this. Yeah. There, I'm going to show you example of fail of this ranking approach, but in PDF, I can't launch it. Maybe later I can upload this. I can send you a links. And after that, we will compare these videos. Yeah, we skip this part. And the last part, how to measure results. You need to compare the first part metrics, like CTR, CPC, CPM, and only if it's okay, and in your benchmarks, you can move forward and move to the second part. But if no, cut the creative from the rotation. You don't need 1 week to make decision. You need to make a decision fast, and you can do it. Yeah. Because of that, if CTR, CPC, CPM is extremely bad, you need to cut these creatives from rotation. Second, then wait for the second part metrics, like trials, purchases, I don't know, many registration, up to you. That depends on your product. And compare it with the data from the previous top creative. After that, you can make decision. And the second part will be some longer than first, of course, but it needs to make right decision. And the last part of my report, conclusions. The first, you can use different approaches for creative testing, and you should use more convenient and trustable for you. You can use each of them. The second, pay attention on results from the first days. Sometimes I can hear that it's not important to see on CTR, CPC, CPM, but I think it's important. It's important metrics, but not in vacuum. It you need to analyze it all of them, and be careful. Diversify risks. It means that you need to use all these approaches and to choose the more convenient for you and for your team. And it's important not only more convenient, but trustable for all your team. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you very much, Artem. Actually, we have one question to you and two questions to, I think, our team. So let us answer the question to you, Artem, and we'll come back to the rest of the questions at the end of our webinar. So what is the goal of the campaign in the test, purchases or installs?
I always suggest use in tests your main goal. That means that I talked about purchases. In my case, I don't. It's not, this approach to test creatives in installs campaigns, installs with optimization goal installs. It's not goals for me because I don't understand how you can use these types of audience, because you need the audience that have a more estimated value to purchase, but you are testing this this audience on installs campaigns with goals install. That means that you that system will show your advertising materials to audience that have a more person to install your app. And long story short, I suggest you use on your main goal lucky purchases.
Okay, there is a small answer to to your answer, that the goal is purchase. It will take too long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's you're true, but you are right, but it's too long. But which test do you wanna get? That right, or the test for test? I think the first. And in my opinion, you need to use only your main goal. For example, purchase or subscriptions, maybe trials, I don't know.
Actually, personally, I agree. And yeah, there is another question yet. Do you always create new test campaign or use some old one?
Mm-hmm. It depends on targets of this test. Yeah.
You know, in my opinion. Oh, sorry, Artem. Artem, please continue.
No. I need 1 minute. I think. That means you can tell what you want, Ignat.
Okay. In my opinion, and
sorry, Ignat. We can leave that question at the end of the webinar and give the word to Polina, while Artem and you, Ignat, will all think about it. And yeah, let's answer the rest of the questions at the end of the webinar. What do you think?
Okay.
Fine.
Agree.
Good. So I'm giving the word to Polina from Apptica. So please go ahead.
Many thanks to our speakers, and thanks to Natasha for such a great introduction. Hi everyone, I'm Polina, a PR and marketing manager at Apptica, and today I will go from more specific to general things, and we will dive deeper into the mobile advertising market in the first half of 2024. We have recently released a big report on the overall state of mobile market during this period. So if you want to check it, you can download it using the link in the chat box. But today I will solely focus on advertising and TikTok and Meta specifically. And before I start, a few words about Apptica. For those of you who still don't know what is Apptica for some reason, our platform is an ad intelligence and app analytics tool that is designed for helping mobile businesses grow. With access to over 11 million apps and an extensive gallery with more than 109 million creatives, Apptica allows to monitor key market trends, usage engagement metrics, app updates, among other features. So let's start our analysis from the overall picture of mobile advertising, and we will look at some trends. So considering creative format distribution, you can see by a pie chart that video formats continue to dominate with over 80% of advertising traffic share, followed by banner creatives and playables. And besides, the creatives with hybrid elements were also on the rise, combining video with playables and user-generated content. And also, it's very interesting to note here that distribution of traffic share between platforms was different. So in Google Play apps, covered the biggest share of advertising traffic with almost 60% of share, while in App Store gaming appeared to be a leader with over 70%. When we are analyzing mobile advertising, we need to analyze it partly. So we will start from vertical analysis. And first of all, let's have a look at non-gaming mobile advertising. And looking at these bar charts, you can see that on iOS, entertainment category became a leader with over 50% of share, followed by lifestyle that also gained more than 10% of advertising traffic, while on Android, finance became the leader with almost 29% of advertising share. Advertising traffic share, followed by such categories as social and shopping. Shifting our angle to gaming sector, you can see that casual titles took the biggest share of advertising traffic on both platforms, with 27% and 20% correspondingly on iOS and Android. On iOS, simulation, card, and strategy categories accounted for more than 10% of share each. And on Android, casual was followed by board and puzzle games, which also accounted for more than 10% of advertising traffic. When we speak about mobile advertising, we also have to mention mediation flow and especially distribution platforms. So here you can see the top 10 DSPs, distribution platforms, with a winner, Liftoff, with 36.32% of advertising traffic. And I have to mention that this bar chart reflects the data that we have detected using Apptica for the stated period. Now I want to focus more on the creatives and on the formats of creatives, starting from top creative ratio. And on the slide, you can see ratios of video, banner, and playable creatives. And it's obvious that the distribution was more even for banner creatives, while for video and playable ones, there are some obvious leaders that occupied over half of advertising traffic for playables and almost a third of advertising traffic as for video creatives. Proceeding to creative duration, it's clear if we look at the bar charts that there was a clear preference for 30-second ads, and this might mean that advertisers were willing to make shorter forms of content, more concise and standardized formats of content. When we analyze our red line that is leading us through the whole webinar is TikTok and Meta platforms, and here I want to focus on them specifically. In terms of creative life cycle. So on TikTok, the creatives burn out faster. Almost 60% of creatives are excluded from the inventory within the first 7 days. Only 18.7% run for more than 30 days. In Meta channels, the situation was different because more creatives crossed the 7 days line with 14.3%, which performed for more than 30 days. And if we speak about efficiency, Meta had a bit bigger share of top 1 creatives, so more creatives led to desired KPIs. And now I want to focus on the main players of the industry, top advertisers, and actually you will be able to filter and tap on all of these ranks as soon as we will send you a follow-up with the whole presentation. But here I can mention that the absolute leader was depicted by Vidiaev, both on iOS and Android, and in terms of share and creatives number. When we are shifting to a gaming sector, we see that Royal Match had nice results and became a leader on iOS, both by share and number of creatives, while on Android, Monopoly Go became a leader with a slight decrease by 0.5%. And on Android, the leader was illustrated by Rescue Cut, Row Puzzle, which performed with more than 1 million of creatives. As we focus today on Meta and TikTok specifically, I want to point out that more than a half of advertisers in Meta channels pertained to gaming vertical, and all in all, Meta products covered 17.1% of ad traffic. While the situation for TikTok was quite the opposite, because 32% of advertisers in TikTok were from gaming vertical, so non-gaming applications dominated the ad niche, unlike in Meta. And now, as I'm finalizing my speech, I want to say a few words about trends in creatives. And in this slide, you can see the most common mechanics and techniques that were caught in creatives during this period for Meta and TikTok. And you will also be able to click on each of this picture to see each of the creatives in our full presentation. But I want to focus more on the trends. And the first trend is that advertisers are willing to add some gamification and interactivity into their content and creatives. So they are using rewards, voiceovers, some emotional connotation parts. Moreover, there was a strong shift towards user-generated content, and a lot of collaborations with creators and advertisers were also noticed because this brings a pre-existing audience and a trustworthy voice. And this all together makes up something like a magic that creates a real trustworthiness and authenticity to the company's products. Moreover, one of the trends was depicted by educational content aligned with some short formats of content. For example, some tutorials, tips, instructions in the formats of short videos, playables, or banners. And last but not least, social proof in formats of some results with UGC content, or testimonials is also valued during this period in creatives for Meta and TikTok. And all in all, the market is characterized by rapid innovation and fierce competition, as advertisers are willing to make their content more engaging and participatory, and they want to make their UA strategies more efficient. They are not afraid of experiment with DSP selection or different formats of creatives. So they try different things in different formats, as I've already said. And as I'm limited in time, I cannot share a more detailed analysis, but as I mentioned in the very beginning, you are able to download the full report of the overall state of the market using the link in the chat box. And now feel free to ask any questions, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Paulina, very much. It was super insightful. And actually, we got the question to you. What do you imply by top 1 creatives, and how do you understand that is a good one?
Thank you for your question. Actually, this creative score is our internal custom metrics that depicts, that illustrates the positive correlation of the creative's quality and apps metrics. So, for example, if after the launch of some creative, the downloads or revenue of the particular apps boost, so this creative can get into this top 1 or top 5 ranking. So this shows the positive correlation between the creative and app metrics. I hope this was clear.
Yes, I guess it was very clear, unless the person who asked that question, they always can contact you or your team and to ask some more details. And we have 2 questions for Allformance team. So the first one is, do you assist with handling creative rejections and moderation questions that may arise in TikTok? So let me answer that question, and then I give the word to Ignat as well. So yes, we handle all the moderation process on TikTok, starting with pre-moderation, when we review your creatives and also landing page, together with our creative team and TikTok team. And we do that to minimize risks of rejections. But even if they occur during the campaigns, we solve that issues really fast, because we have, luckily, as a TikTok official partner, we have a VIP moderation line with the TikTok, and we solve that issues of rejections really fast, I can say that. And the second question is to Ignat, particularly what services are included in your creative support as Allformance team, and what is the cost? So please, Ignat, could you please answer that?
Yeah, sure. So regarding our creative support, we support in any stages, like briefing for launching on TikTok, and despite like the launches or maybe like audition site that we managed to prepare you like the whole audition of your creatives, potential creatives for TikTok launches, like to set up a new campaigns maybe with our friendly productions and discuss and teach how to use the TikTok tools. So we managed to focus on the full creative support regarding the educational programs and regarding some, I don't know, even the programs that contains the policies, the team support, your creative team support, or even like to adapt your creative requests for the production side. So like address you to our friendly creative productions, or even for some, I don't know, included for the premium, maybe TikTok support even. But you need to work with us in all cost and all way, like the Allformance client. But if you want some custom creative requests, you can also came to us and ask it, and we will see what we can find and what we can do for you.
Thank you very much. I think we are finished with the questions. So thank you, everyone, all the speakers. It was really full of a lot of insights, and as we promised at the beginning, we'll share all the materials which were shown after our webinar, and of course we'll share the recording of our webinar for everyone who registered on it. You can also find our contacts of all the speakers in the follow-up. So please don't hesitate to reach us anywhere is convenient to you. Thank you very much. Have a nice rest of the day, and hopefully see you soon.
Thank you. Bye. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.